Welcome to Verbal Pick Radio, where we give you a verbal image of life, and we are everyday people. I'd like to welcome you all to the show. I'd like to thank a lot of people that listens to the show. Especially like to give a shout out to the new subscribers. This is a small community. I feel your energy. Sister Sanara Smith, feel your energy. Sister Pebbles, A-Tone Productions. Thank you for being part of the Verbal Pit community, because we can share knowledge and we can build on certain topics that affect not just everyday life, but also affect our forward march into the future. Now, as this show grows, you all remember that the larger the show gets, the more interceptors, I'd call them, will come around and try to dismantle what we're doing, because that's part of the game. Because one of the tools that they use is to try to divert or just plain cut out knowledge, stop black people from learning. And if you do speak the truth, they'll make you apologize for it. You'll become Nick Cannon, or like they did Nick Cannon. Right? So I want to get into that today, but I want to make this the last time I speak on this subject. And I will attempt to show you all why Nick Cannon had to go and apologize. Right? And it was bigger than just what he said about the Jewish community. It was actually the statements he made in regards to the Illuminati, right? And so that's what really got him in hot water, right? And we're gonna get into that. I'm queuing that up for you all, because I want you all to actually see and hear. Well, actually hear what he was speaking upon. Now, we all know Tupac, when he did the Illuminati, Machiavelli, right, which was actually kill Illuminati. It raised a lot of eyebrows, but Pac knew what he was talking about, right? And I want to play at one part in the lecture that Nick Cannon did with Professor Griff. He was like, there's no Illuminati, and he went to Jay-Z house and they saying this and that about the Illuminati, right? But as you notice, right after that, now you apologizing to everyone, right? And I'm just letting you all know the reason behind it. So we're going to get into that. And the key word in this is the Illuminati. And we're not through yet, but here it is.
To where they may not have the compassion or the when they were sent to the mountains of Caucasus, when they didn't have the power of the sun, that the sun then started to deteriorate them. So then they're acting out of fear. They're acting out of low self-esteem.
He's talking about white people right now.
Of a deficiency. So therefore, the only way that they can act is evil. The only way they have to rob, steal, rape, kill, and
fight or flight,
in order to survive.
Exactly.
So then these people who didn't have what we had, and when I say we, I speak of the melanated people.
Right.
They had to be savages. They had to be barbaric. Because they're in these Nordic mountains. They're in these rough, torrential environments. So they're acting as animals.
Right.
So they're the ones that are actually closer to animals. They're the ones that are actually the true savages. And then they built up such this I don't want to say warrior, but they built up such this conquering barbaric mentality that they're coming out of Europe. They then said, in order for us to survive, we have to take what's not ours. And then they went into the land that actually where we are originated. And instead of trying to make friends, they said, we want what you got. Because there's this mentality of whether it's the Caesars or even that we have to conquer.
Right.
So I say all that to say the context, and when when we speak of whether it's Jewish people, white people, Europeans, the Illuminati.
The Illuminati.
They were doing that as survival tactics to stay on this planet.
Right, because
we never had to do that.
Right, because they've learned when they circumnavigated the globe and they ran into these islands and these places, and we were already there to greet them.
Right. With open arms.
With open arms, teaching them, but they
were deficient.
They were deficient, so they wanted to get what they thought we had, and we did have it. So the rape took place of the woman. The theft took place of the natural resources.
And then that's where their disease.
Exactly.
That's where their mentality, because I'm trying to get to that place of how they were able to get control over the gods. How they were able to get control over their
once they learned that, though, and now they raped and impregnated, left and came back, and they saw the child lighter, they said, wow, that's when they learned genetics. Genetic annihilation. So now you have to set up a system of white supremacy to control that.
Right.
So now we have 13 families here, Illuminati that's manipulating and controlling. Subgroups.
Illuminati.
Set up organizations.
Coming out of Europe.
You understand what I'm saying? And look, for that same system, now you're talking about survival, what you just laid out. Now it's fight or flight. Now we have to set up these systems in order to survive.
Right.
But listen, not just survive to get some damn some hamburger buns and some cheese. I'm talking about on a genetic level.
Because they will, and that's even from the white nationalists to the white supremacy mentalities to Donald Trump himself wanting to build walls.
Right.
They're trying to keep what they consider purity.
On a subconscious level. Because sometimes they don't know why they acting out.
It's just been proven. It was National Geographic just put it out by 2050. Every person will be a person of color.
In a minute.
They saying that's as soon as 2050.
So let me ask you something. So what is the subconsciousness saying? What's the fear? The subconscious said, I gotta survive.
Right.
What do I have to do?
That's what it's been from the beginning with the
how do you do that
people.
How do you do that and show love? I gotta take natural resources because I may not be here in a minute. Right. I gotta bomb these people back to the Stone Age because I'm not going to be here in a minute because I got to be able to dominate.
War was created.
Exactly, and control and dominate people. Okay. I have to survive on this planet.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right. And as you call it, this is a great quote right here. Life is living in fear of extinction.
Right. So, and that's what operating on a subconscious level. So they fear. So Dr. Francis Cress Welsing says, when you show up, they view a grown, 6 foot tall, 230-pound black man the same as they do a 4-year-old.
Yep.
Because in us is the genetic material to annihilate them.
Ooh, and it's their fear of God.
It's their fear.
It's their fear of God.
Exactly.
And then for everybody, because I'm bringing it back in context again, because just so you know, we keep referencing, the great Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Get that book, The ISIS Papers. If you haven't, it's essential. And in Griff's book first, get the Warrior's Tapestry. He says that book, as well as so many others, that everything that we're talking about, like it has been kept secrets, but it's not a secret. These books are out there for you to actually read upon, and they're all facts. Nothing.
They're
that's
all
where I
facts.
just wanted to get to. I didn't want to keep creating this boogeyman of they. Or the
you have to demystify who these people are.
We got to get to when we talk about who the original man is.
Right.
Is the original melanated man coming from the place that we call Africa, which I always find this so amazing and compelling that.
Now that was Nick Cannon. He called what he said was facts, right? So he apologized for facts, but I'm telling you, the Illuminati got to him. He's not going to come out and say, well, hey, the Illuminati touched me on my shoulder and I had to do this. No, he's not going to say that. But we know what happened, right? What took place. And I'm showing you all when he started bringing the Illuminati into play, then they made him answer for that. He had to apologize and they got him back in line. That's all it was. It wasn't about the material that he was speaking upon, which he himself announced it as facts. It was just simply he was speaking on something that was taboo. But yet in the same voice, he invoked Minister Farrakhan's name And you don't hear Farrakhan apologizing for speaking the truth. That's your obligation, and that's your duty as a black man if you want to restore justice. You always hear me quote, or you always hear me say, hey, referencing either Marcus Garvey, Noble Drew Ali, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I can't forget Haile Selassie. Haile Selassie, too. You got to put him in the picture, too, when we speaking upon knowledge and our great heroes, right? But, that's what it was. He got to talking about the Illuminati, and I guess they got to him. But I want to play something to where they don't get to in a person who is not afraid. We want to get that to you all, right? Because this thing here, knowledge is so powerful, and it's a tool that we need.
Continuing with our discussion on this shadow government that keeps critical information away from elected presidents, there have been several American presidents who have commented on this secret shadow government. According to an article by Ross Pittman posted on the website ConsciousLifeNews.com titled Verified Warnings from Former U.S. Presidents About the Invisible Government Running the United States with no allegiance to the people. He identifies certain presidents who mentioned the shadow government. In Mr. Pittman's article, he states that George Washington, the first president of the United States, wrote that the Illuminati want to separate the people from their government. Quote, "It was not my intention to doubt that the doctrines of the Illuminati and principles of Jacobinism had not spread in the United States. On the contrary, no one is more truly satisfied of this fact than I am. The idea that I meant to convey was that I did not believe that the lodges of Freemasons in this country had, as societies, endeavored to propagate the diabolical tenets of the first, or Illuminati, or the pernicious principles of the latter, the Jacobins, if they are susceptible of separation, that individuals of them may actually have a separation of the people from their government in view is too evident to be questioned." George Washington goes on to say that the Illuminati as a group of highly intelligent, enlightened persons who wanted to separate the people from their government and their government from the people, but he never broke down who these Illuminati were. According to Wikipedia, Vernon Stauffer, who wrote a dissertation entitled New England and the Bavarian Illuminati, published by New York Columbia University Press in 1918, indicates that Bavarian philosopher Adam Weishaupt is credited as the founder of the Bavarian Illuminati May 1st, 1776. Historically, the name refers to an Enlightenment era secret society. In subsequent use, Illuminati refers to various organizations claiming or purported to have unsubstantiated links to the original Bavarian Illuminati or similar secret societies, and often alleged to conspire to control world affairs by masterminding events and planting agents in government and corporations to establish a new world order and gain further political power and influence. Central to some of the most widely known and elaborate conspiracy theories, the Illuminati have been depicted as lurking in the shadows and pulling the strings and levers of power in dozens of novels, movies, television shows, comics, video games, and music videos. Jacobinism is described as the practice of the Jacobins, a political group advocating egalitarian democracy during the French Revolution, the ideology of the most radical element of the French Revolution that instituted the Reign of Terror. Although Jews of France in particular, the Sephardic Jews of Paris, were considered as Jacobins, it referred more specifically to Jews and the non-Jews who supported them. Depending on the historical writers, despite who controlled the press, both groups were charged with initiating the French Revolution. Thomas Jefferson, the third president, was much more specific about the shadow government. He said, quote, "I sincerely believe with you that banking establishments are more dangerous than standing armies," close quote. John C. Calhoun, Vice President of the United States under the 7th President Andrew Jackson, said, "A power has risen up in the government greater than the people themselves, consisting of many and various and powerful interests combined into one mass and held together by the cohesive power of the vast surplus in the banks. This mighty combination will be opposed to any change, and it is to be feared. Such is its influence, no measure to which it is opposed can become a law, however expedient and necessary, and that the public money will remain in their possession to be disposed of not as the public interest, but as theirs may dictate. The time indeed seems fast approaching when no law can pass, nor any honor be conferred from the chief magistrate to the tide waiter without the assent of this powerful and interested combination, which is steadily becoming the government itself, to the utter subversion of the authority of the people. Nay, I fear we are in the midst of it, and I look with anxiety to the fate of this measure as the test whether we are or not. Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States, said, quote, "Behind the ostensible government sits enthroned an invisible government, owing no allegiance and acknowledging no responsibility to the people. To destroy this invisible government, to befoul the unholy alliance between corrupt business and corrupt politics is the first task of the statesmanship of the day, close quote. Woodrow Wilson, the 28th President of the United States, said, quote, "A great industrial nation is controlled by its system of credit. Our system of credit is privately concentrated. The growth of the nation, therefore, and all our activities are in the hands of a few men. We have come to be one of the worst ruled, one of the most completely controlled and dominated governments in the civilized world. No longer a government by free opinion, no longer a government by conviction and the vote of the majority, but a government by the opinion and the duress of small groups of dominant men. Since I entered politics, I have chiefly had men's views confided to me privately. Some of the biggest men in the United States in the field of commerce and manufacture are afraid of somebody, are afraid of something. They know that there's a power somewhere so organized, so subtle, so watchful, so interlocked, so complete, so pervasive that they had better not speak above their breath when they speak in condemnation of it.
So there you have it. See, Nick Cannon, he had spoke against it. They came out on him, and that was that. That was the end of it. He apologized. He sat with the rabbi. He was getting tutored and lectured, and even though he researched and found what was fact, he had to go against his own research, knowledge, and thought process, and that's what it is. But if you always hear me quoting or speaking on Brother Farrakhan, it's simply because he's free to give you the truth and share with you all pertinent information that will save your life. You haven't heard any other quote-unquote black leader speak about this, although they know about it, and some are part of some of these organizations. But when the minister speaks with no fear, then that's a sign for you, right? And especially for those who are seeking knowledge, because we were deprived of knowledge for so long, right? To where we're catching up with that which we was deprived of and that which was lost. And so now we're getting into it, and we seeking, we're thirsting for knowledge, and we hearing knowledge. And when you hear people backtracking on knowledge, it confuses some. But so we on Verbal Peak Radio, we had to give the context in which and why the brother had to go back on his knowledge. Because if you are bought and paid for, or you all heard me say, don't listen to these celebrities. Most of them bought and paid for, and when they get the message and they speaking too boldly, they yank their coattails and pull them back in. That's just part of the game. So we wanted to share that with you all. Verbal Pick Radio.